All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Serious Angler Podcast, the show here where we dive into everything bass fishing, take some wild tangents, have a dang good time doing it. You guys know how we do. And tonight, unfortunately, we are without our Bassin captain, Mr. Andy Full. You guys are stuck with me riding solo here. I'm your host, Bailey Eichbrett. And whether you're here to pick up some tips, just kick back and talk fishing, you're in the right place. And tonight, we got a great one for you. We got first up to bat, we got Mr. Matt Becker, hot off of a wild trip over to China, which and talking with him back and forth, I did not even realize had bass, which was a complete oversight on my end. So we're going to dig into that, of course. We're going to talk about the 2024 season, especially off of an incredible 2023 season. And Matt's just a really good one to learn from, really details a lot of his learnings, ups, downs, positive, negatives. And he's always been one of our show favorites here and getting them on and chatting with him. And great dude. So looking forward to get him on. And then second to wrap up the show tonight, we have Mr. Andrew Loberg on. So a Bassmaster Elite Series rookie, get his POV on not having entry fees, which might be nice. You know, your first season in the Elites, not having to fork over 45K, but there's obviously not always a positive to that. But you guys have seen we put out a little breaking news video on that, but we'll dive into that with Andrew later tonight, kind of get his perspective on it, dive into a little bit. But Deacon did a really good job of diving full bore into all of that recently. So we'll be talking about that here a little bit more. I'm sure you guys seen a lot on it, but I'm just excited to talk to these two guys because they're hammers in their own right. And it's going to be a fun night, folks. So make sure you guys are in the comments, engaging back and forth. We're wrapping up the 2024 season here shortly. We got 2 months left. It feels freaking nuts to say that. It is flying by. I've had a wild week here. I think I'm back to fishing this week. And I say that with a caveat because this past weekend, I was actually fortunate enough and putting in the work a little bit this fall and tagged out for bow season. I got a beautiful 8-point this past weekend. But on the way home from dropping that buck off to get processed, a doe decided to take it revenge for her. She avenged her boyfriend, who I took home to chop into some venison to eat, and she decided to go headfirst into the side of my truck. So my truck is in the shop because she did a number on my driver door. Thankfully, I'm all good. I barely even felt it. The ram took the brunt of it, and the deer didn't really. She was good. She kind of just tumbled and ran off. So I think all is well. The truck's operating fine. But what that means is I don't know if I'll have a truck for this weekend. So I'm trying to convince Andy to take me fishing at some point because the itch is real, guys. It's been a little bit. But hopefully it's a quick turnaround. I'll go fishing next weekend because then our gun season starts for hunting here in New York. And hopefully make that quick too because then we can get back to fishing. But fall fishing is in full fledged. It's awesome time of year, beautiful time of year. We got some guys in the comments here already, some of our regulars. We got Extreme Outdoorsman saying almost ice fishing season. You keep that swear word out of your mouth. We don't need to say ice fishing season just yet. All right. It's still prime time smallmouth season. We don't need any of that just yet, but we got some of the regulars in here. We got Tom, Mr. Higgs, Michael Bradley. Appreciate you guys joining in. Before we get into the show here with Matt, keep you guys the comments coming. Appreciate seeing you guys this evening. Is that Omnia is running a really cool promo. And for the MP3 folks, I apologize if this is basically redoing the ad that you originally heard, because I have this running on all of our episodes to inform you guys because it's such a good deal. As you guys know, we've talked about Omnia Premium Pro, where the Pro app, you can have the map layers, but also get 10% back on your rewards and all the different benefits that come with being an Omnia Pro member. Well, right now, you go to sign up for Omnia Pro. It's essentially it's $49.95, so $50 to sign up. When you use code SeriousPro, the link's down in the description for you guys to use it. One, it takes $5 off, so you get Pro for $45. But then when you pay that, you go through the process, you have a $50 gift card sitting in your cart to go use at Omnia. So you get $5 off. So you get $5 off your Omnia Pro membership, but then you get a $50 gift card to Omnia. Pretty dang good deal. So if you guys are trying to get become an Omnia Pro member, or it's a great time if you want to gift a Omnia Pro membership to somebody. It's a great time to do so. Just use the link down below. And right now, as well as Omnia Fishing, it is 20% off of all Zoom baits as well as some select lures, rods, and reels. So great time to take advantage. Make sure you guys are refreshing that Omnia page every day because, like all of us anglers, we buy way too much stuff. And we're going to get into that with Matt too, because it sounds like he had quite the receipt coming back home from his trip. But we spent way too much. So anytime we can save, it's a good thing. So make sure you guys head over there and take advantage of that. But great show tonight. Let's get into it. Let's bring on our first guest, Mr. Matt Becker. What's going on, dude?
Hey, what's up, Bailey? Appreciate you reaching out and getting me on the show.
Dude, always got a seat, man. Always got a seat.
Well, good.
I'm sure you're probably just happy to be sitting down at this point with how busy your fall has been.
Yeah, no doubt. It's nice to just sit, relax, and just talk a little fishing. That's for sure. Just be in one place. You know, I think I've been home for like a week straight now, which is wild. It's crazy.
You're like, yeah, dude, finally I got an evening off. And then I text you and you're like, gosh, dang it, this guy ruins my one night off.
Yep. No. The evening's been nice, especially since they changed the time we got us this weekend. It gets dark at like 5:30 now. So it's like, got to come in and relax for a little bit. I can't even stay out in the yard till late.
Dude, it never fails. I finally went through and made an alert for years upcoming of the dates of when time change are actually going to be, because at once again, I forget that time change is happening. And that morning that not the morning, but the day I shot the buck, which was Sunday, I forgot that it was time change. And I wake up thinking, and like, I woke up 3 hours early to try to get into the stand an hour and a half before sun even started coming up. That way I was in there way ahead of time. Because I was going after this really big one that I have on camera, and thankfully fate had it that with the time change, I woke up, looked at my phone, said 4, but the stove said 5. I was like, oh crap, don't tell me it's time change right now. And I realized it's gonna be late. And thankfully I was, though, because the time I predicted myself to get in there, he was already there. So I would have spent and everything. But as you know, as it all happened, it all worked out, and we got some venison in the freezer right now, which is all you can ask for. But yeah, dude, it's time change. I hate when it gets dark at 4 p.m.
I know. It is the worst. I mean, I hate, and like the part that bugs me the most is like it's daylight for the same amount of hours per day. It just screws up everyone's cycle because the time's different. You know, it's like I was talking with the UPS driver has become a little bit of my friend because he's here all the time. So we always chit chat every time. And we got to talking last night, and he's like, it totally messes up his route. Cause like typically he was done about the time it got dark. And now he's like, you know, he's got at least another hour plus into the night. And it just has been messing with him this week. So he's getting adjusted to that, but I hate it too.
I don't know why we do it. I really don't. Yeah, I know there's like certain states that are like trying to get rid of it.
Well, yeah, there's like a section in Arizona that doesn't follow it at all. Because I know I was out there a couple years ago, and I think it was actually the weekend the time changed, and it was a total mess trying to figure out what actual time was where I was, because it was different in like half of the state of Arizona or something. There's some little zone where they don't follow the daylight savings time, and the other part of it did. And then I was going to a different time zone on top of that. It was all mixed up, but I forget exactly what that was. But the time change, it just confuses the heck out of me. Like even for me here, like I live on the very western side of the Eastern time zone. So like 45 minutes to the west is the central time zone. So like if I go fishing Dale Hollow, like I'm going into the central time zone, and like even that'll just screw me up for the day. Like I'll be like thinking like, what time is it actually? What time is it at home? Like it just totally screws me up.
I'm all in favor of getting rid of it, dude. But can you imagine if you're in Arizona, you just cross towns and it's like time change, like hour forward, hour back. I wonder if your phone is that smart where it's like it understands which counties or don't accept.
I don't think. If I remember right, our phones were going nuts while we were out there. Like the time was just never the same.
100 feet this way, it's 6 o'clock. 100 feet that way, it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it was weird.
Do other countries, you know, speaking of how we're going to talk about bassin in China tonight, but do you know if other countries follow the same thing we do?
I have no idea.
That's a great question, actually.
That is a good question.
I'm gonna text Mercer and see if Canada follows it.
Yeah.
Canada's probably got some wild. They go 2 hours forward.
No,
2
I
hours.
feel like they have to because it's all time zones
I don't know.
all the way around the world. Because like where we were, getting into the trip, we were in China. It's exactly 12 hours ahead of where we are right now. So right now in China, where we were in Beijing, it's 8 a.m. tomorrow. Yeah,
that's too crazy to wrap your head around.
Yeah, it is literally the exact, as far away from here as you could get.
So you had to fly to the West Coast and then from the West Coast to Beijing?
Yeah, which we could dive into a different tangent here about how the Earth is flat. But if you looked at our flight pattern, we went from Atlanta up into Alaska and then over and down into China, rather than just straight. You would think you would just go straight across, right?
Did you just say the Earth is flat?
I didn't say that the Earth is flat. I'm just saying use your brain and think a little bit. I'm a critical thinker. I just like thinking of things. That's all.
I was like, is Matt admitting he's a flat earther here?
I'm not on one side or the other. I'm right in the middle. I just like to think about it.
I just find him. I'm one of those people that just sits in the crowd and just gets amusement out of these different debates.
Yeah, I just really like thinking about it because I mean, there's some very valid points.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think it comes down to flight logistics these days. Just being
I mean, it's probably like for a safety issue. If I had to really think about it, just because we're always over land, up through Alaska and then you're not over the ocean for very long.
Yeah. It's crazy how people don't realize how close Russia and Alaska actually are.
Oh yeah, like it was.
You can swim across.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's too cold, but yeah, you could.
It's not that far at all. I mean, yeah, I've learned a lot about how the world lays out over the last month. A lot more than I knew a couple months ago. That's for sure.
All I'll say is in the past few weeks with all this political crap, I will talk about flat versus round earth all day long if it means we can get off this topic.
I know, right? So today is the first day my phone hasn't rang all day. It's been great.
From like people trying to like ads calling you?
Yeah.
Like,
man, I was getting blown up by the spam texts and robocalls, like because my phone number is from Pennsylvania and they were just going hard in Pennsylvania. So like it was 10 to 20 calls and texts a day for the last 2 weeks.
Oh, then you got 4 more years to change your number, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how I get away from that, but they were on me for sure the last couple weeks.
Dude.
But today was quiet, and that's good. I like it.
Yeah. Shoot, it's probably a relief. I think it's a relief for a lot of people, which this is the one thing we're going to say about it, and I do not want to get into it because I'm the least. I hate politics. The one thing I do want to say though, and I think you'll agree with me here, Matt, is just because someone voted for somebody else, like Matt and I are pals, you vote for somebody else than I did. It doesn't mean that we have to hate each other and we can't be friends.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's all agree to be adults and know that elections come and go. Friendships and relationships are here to stay. So that's all I'm going to say.
No doubt. And I mean, I've kind of experienced a lot of that over the last month or so because I was literally in other countries across the world and we all related, like we couldn't even communicate or there was a huge language barrier, but we all related to bass fishing. We could all be friends, hang out, enjoy like each other's company, have a good time, all because we liked bass fishing. And like, you want to talk about, politics or government, like who knows what's going on over there? Like things are totally different in China, Japan, all that stuff, but we could just totally relate over bass fishing. And it was so cool just to have those friendships, those relationships, and just experience all that. It was awesome.
Yeah, dude. Let's get into that. So like with this trip, how much like warning did you get? You're like, hey, we're sending you to China.
Yeah. So let me look at my calendar because I think I remember the day I got the phone call.
Was it a quick turnaround?
Oh yeah. So, where is?
I can imagine the rush trying to just basically get your stuff ready for China.
Yeah, so it was September 18th. I got a phone call from MLF. They're like, "Hey, random question. Do you have a passport?" And I was like, I'm actually in the process of getting an updated passport because I actually had the passport card just for going driving over to Canada, but you couldn't fly.
Yeah.
So like we were actually in the process of updating it to the book so we could go. We were actually just booked a cruise like a couple days before that to go to Mexico. So we wanted to get an updated passport and whatnot. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm in the process of getting a new one, so I think I'll be good. He's like, all right, random question number 2. Do you want to go to China in like 2 weeks? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, like there's a Major League Fishing China had reached out and they wanted a couple anglers to come over for this tournament that they're having, and we want you to go. So I was like, well, let me call Brittany and see. Like, I don't want to go myself. Like, I got to bring Brittany just to feel safe, and enjoy the trip. So I called her, and she was like, yeah, immediately, yes, let's go, let's make it happen.
That's crazy.
So yeah, that was what did I say? That was September 18th, and I guess it was 3 weeks, almost technically, because
that's still a quick freaking turnaround.
We left October 7th, so that was less than.
That's not like, yeah. I mean, that's a lot different than, hey, we're going to Simcoe. Do you have your passport for Canada? Yeah. This is a completely different story.
Yeah. So after that, we got in touch with Wilson, which is the president of MLF China, or I guess he's the vice president. I think
there's an MLF in China.
Oh yeah, there's an MLF China. There's a bunch of different countries that have an MLF division.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, so it's like a legit. I guess you call it a club, a tournament organization. I don't know what exactly they are there. It's obviously not as big as Major League Fishing here, but it is definitely a division, and they have regular tournaments.
Dang,
but I got in touch with Wilson, and he kind of went through the details. He's like, here's when I need you to arrive in Beijing. So like, make sure you look at the flights specifically, because there's you lose a whole day in travel. So we started looking into all that and got the flights booked and all that. And next thing you know, we're booked and heading to China.
That's so crazy, dude.
Yeah, it was wild.
How was that flight?
What's that?
How miserable was that flight?
The flight there wasn't that bad. I don't know if it's just because we were excited or nervous or what the deal was, but the flight there wasn't bad. So it's also because we flew overnight, I think. So we drove to Atlanta from our house just because the flights were a little cheaper, and it was more of a direct flight out of Atlanta than one of the closer airports like Chattanooga or Knoxville or something. So we drove to Atlanta, which was a couple hours, 3 hours. And we left Atlanta at like 11:30 at night. And I think we flew, I think it was like 14 or 15 hours straight. And we landed in South Korea for a layover. So we flew like 14 hours straight, and we got there, and it was like 5 a.m. the Wednesday. So we left Monday night. We lost all of Tuesday, and we got over there to Korea, and it was Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. And then we had a little layover, and then we flew into Beijing, and we got into Beijing, and it was 9 a.m. in Beijing. And like on Wednesday, like we're here. Look, we got the whole day. Let's go.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, the time change, kind of screwed me up a little bit. It was definitely a lot worse on the way back than going there, because we slept on the flight getting over there, and then like I said, we were like excited and amped up just to be there and experience China. So we just went out and explored Beijing for that whole day. And then probably about 6 or 7 o'clock that night, when it started getting dark, that's when we really started getting tired and went to bed pretty early that first night. But after that, a full night's sleep, like I felt like I was on schedule. Like I felt normal on
So
their time.
you were adjusted quick then.
Yeah, like we adjusted pretty quick. And I think that's the way to do it when you're going over there is you want to sleep as much as you can on the plane. And then once you get there, stay up for as long as you can until, get on kind of a normal schedule. And then after that, like I was good the rest of the time there. But once we got home, that was a little different story, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah. Yeah. So we already got questions firing in about multiple different things over there. But I guess first and foremost that we'll get into is, I guess, the tournament itself. Like it looked like much smaller boats, kind of similar to people that we've talked about with like over in Japan, the
Yeah.
smaller boats, things like that. So it seemed like a very similar culture, at least from the outside looking in, watching your socials. But what was that like? Like, was it a tournament? Like a partner tournament deal? Like, kind of break that down for us. The tournament itself.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't really have much information at all on the actual tournament side of things. Like, I didn't know what we were really getting into. So we just went over there just for the experience, just to catch a bass in China. Like, how many guys can say they've done that? Not many. So
No.
we were really just going for the experience. And as the week went on, we kind of learned more and more about the event. So basically, this was like the biggest tournament that MLF China has ever put on. Like, this was essentially the biggest tournament that they have. I'm not quite sure how the Chinese anglers qualified or entered into this tournament. I never really figured that much out, but there was 40 teams of Chinese anglers, and then there was 5 international teams. So there was me, and I fished with a guy named Thomas, who is he's from California, but he's lived in China for the last like 15 or 20 years. And my understanding is this guy Thomas he's actually responsible for a lot of the movement for changing bass fishing in China to more of a sport fishing rather than just for food. So like he fished tournaments here in California and Clear Lake and fished, Costa Series or Toyota Series events. And then he brought that to China and was like, hey guys, like these bass are actually really fun to fish for on the sporting side of things. Like you have tournaments, like you don't have to just catch them and eat them. And he's kind of changed that thing there in China. But anyway, that's who I fished with in the tournament. And then we had Brent Chapman and James Elam. They also came to represent the U.S. and they were working with Cast King. That was a sponsor of the event. Then there was a team from Namibia. I always screw up their country.
I don't even know what that is.
It's in southern Africa, so like southwestern Africa. And then there was another guy who came from the country South Africa, which is just right next to him. And then there was 2 guys that came from Spain. So all of those guys could speak English. The Spain team has a little broken English, but it was enough to understand them at least. We could all communicate. So that was essentially who I hung out with the whole time, was all the international teams. And honestly, we were really in our own tournament against ourselves. We really weren't competing against the Chinese anglers in this tournament. Just because the Chinese anglers, they paid an entry fee, they practiced for days. We were really just there to help, boost the popularity of the tournament, bring some more, a different angle to it, some new eyes, and just kind of help, emphasize and really, give them advice on how to run a better tournament, things like that. We were really just there for the experience and to help make it become a bigger event for MLF China.
That's super freaking cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, the lake was like 4 hours outside of Beijing. So we took a long bus ride down there. We get down there, and, the main thing that's a little bit different in China is like, they don't really launch their boat and trailer it every day. Like these guys got there, they launched their boat once, and then they dock it and leave it on the dock for the entire week of the tournament. So we pull up to the lake, and the dock is just lined with all the different boats. And, some of them were smaller boats. Like I ended up fishing out of, MLF China provided us boats that were just little aluminum boats, but there was also full blown, Rangers, nitros, like fully rigged out 5-6 graphs, best trolling motors, live scopes, 360. Like it was, there was guys that had everything, like a tournament rigged bass boat from the US, that I was really surprised to see all that. But there was definitely a few of those. I would say the majority of them were more like 18 foot boats with 150 and a couple graphs on them, but there was definitely the full rigged out boats there for sure.
God, that's pretty cool, dude.
It was crazy. It was a crazy experience.
I imagine of everybody, the one common word would be Sanko that everybody could understand.
Yeah. So it was so funny, like, communicating with the anglers, and like there was certain words that would stick out. So like the guy I fished with, Thomas, he could speak English and Chinese, so he was an excellent like translator. I could ask him questions and he could, give me a good understanding of what's going on. But we also had another guy in the boat, Mars, who was just filming us. He was just had a camera on us the whole time. And, it was funny. Sometimes Thomas and Mars would get into conversations and they would just speak in Chinese the whole time. But I learned that there's a few words that they don't have a Chinese word for. So he would be going off in Chinese and then be like forward facing sonar and then a bunch more Chinese words. So like there was words where like, I guess there isn't a translation in the Chinese for forward facing sonar. So like I would just get bits and pieces of these little words out of the conversation, and it was funny.
That's freaking cool, dude.
Yeah.
We have Mr. Higgs is asking, did you learn any Chinese while you were over there? Like, is there any fishing slang in Chinese that you picked up?
Fishing slang? No, about the only Chinese I know is ni hao, which is hi.
Oh, okay. That was it.
Like Brittany and I like tried to practice before we got there, and like we got some bad information on the internet as far as learning the Chinese words, because we just wanted to learn like hi and thank you, and like thank you is like if you go on YouTube and Google it, it's like cien or something like that. But when they say it in real time, it's just like shi. Like that's thank you. That's thank you. So I know ni hao, which is hi, and thank you. So I can say hi, thank you, and that's about it.
I feel like that's all you really need, honestly.
Yeah, but I mean, another thing that's really cool is like a lot of the people there understand a little bit of English. So they actually teach it in some of the schools there. Like a lot of the younger kids especially could, they could understand and speak just a little bit of English, just, enough to have a little conversation, say hi, thank you, that kind of stuff. Like I feel
Isn't that crazy, dude? Like, so many countries that are like that, though, that they'll have their main language, but then they can speak English. Or worse than here in the United States, and half the United States can barely speak English. Like,
I know. Trust me. Trust me. It was an eye opener for sure. And like just realizing how smart some of these kids are. That I mean, I know I could not learn another language right now to be fully coherent and be able to speak fluently in another language. Like there ain't no way.
It's freaking nuts, dude. I can't. Yeah. Like, I have a family member. She can speak 7 languages. And I was like, how? I mean, that's just ultimate brain.
That's crazy. That is so crazy. Like, how does your brain work that fast that you can like comprehend? I don't know. That's wild to me.
Get nuts, dude. I have no freaking clue. I don't even try to understand because then it just makes my brain hurt. So I don't even bother.
So it was cool. Like they had so like a big opening ceremony for the tournament. Brought all the anglers up, and really, what I gathered from this event was this tournament was really a big push to help develop the area where this lake was, where they want to bring more tourism into that area from local Chinese anglers, so that we were kind of there helping develop that area and kind of showcase the lake and the area and that kind of stuff. So they had a bunch of, local officials, the town mayor or whatever they call it there, all those different, local officials at the opening ceremony, and they all did their little thing. But it was kind of cool going through there. Like they had the main MC running the ceremony, but then there was another lady who he would speak a sentence in Chinese and then she would speak it in English right after he did. So it was like a two-part ceremony. And I mean, that really helped us understand what the heck was going on for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise you'd be screwed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I guess
it was cool.
It sounds it. I have so many different questions here. I want to get to, we got some people commenting live here, and it's from Brian Slayton. He's asking about some of the results from the derb. So like, what was like some of the winning weights?
Yeah, let's get into the tournament. So the tournament format was a little bit different than anything I've ever fished. So they essentially took the Major League Fishing Every Fish Counts format and combined it with a weigh-in. So the way this tournament works, every fish counted, but you could only bring in 10 at a time.
Interesting.
Okay. So you would take off. So you fished for 8 hours. So the first day after the opening ceremony, we didn't take off till like 10 a.m. and we fished all the way till 6.
Yeah.
It's basically getting dark. And the second day, I think we fished 8 to 4 or something like that. So you fished 8 hours, but once you took off, you went out and you caught 10 fish as quick as you could, live weld them, bring them back, weigh them in on the scale, drop them in the release area, run back, get in the boat, and go back and try and catch 10 more. And when I say run, like people were literally sprinting. Like they would pull their boat in, bag their fish into a bin, and literally sprint up the dock, which it was probably like it was at least 50 yards from the dock upstairs to where the weigh-in platform was. Like these people were literally sprinting to the scales, weigh their fish. Like you had to sign the little weigh slip and then sprint back to the boat, jump in and take off and go back and try and catch 10 more. So like it was.
They're making a sport out of
it. It was extremely like fast paced and like entertaining for people to watch. So like Brittany had a blast. She just sat there at the dock all day and just watched people running back and forth with fish and like had a blast just watching that go down. But
that's freaking nuts.
So there was really like 2 different strategies. You could fish for a little bit bigger quality fish and not catch as many, or you could just catch as many small fish as you could, which brings me to the other thing that's a little different there was the size limit. So the size limit, I think it was 10 centimeters. Let me double check that.
10 centimeters? Tiny.
Centimeters, yeah.
It's like what? That's 3
10
inches?
centimeters, it's like 4 inches. So that was the minimum length. So like if you caught a bass, it kept. Okay. So
that's
like
nuts, dude.
There was guys that were hurry up and catch 10, but they'd be just little fish. So all the weights were in kilograms as well. So that was throwing me for a loop. But for instance, the guy who was leading the team that was leading the first day, they weighed in, I think 14 times. So that would be 140 bass. Jeez. And like their average 10 fish would be like 4 kilograms, 5 kilograms, which I got to do math on that as well.
I'm not even going to try to do that.
Let's do it. 4 kilograms, 2 pounds is like 8 pounds.
8 pounds? Even less.
8.8 pounds is 4 kilograms. So like
less than a pound.
Their 10 fish were weighing less than a pound a piece. It's like that was the guys who were leading after day one. And I mean, There was a handful of teams doing that. For us, we just went fishing and just caught what we caught. So for me, we ended up weighing in 5 times. We weighed 50 fish the first day, and we were on more of the quality. Ours were probably from 7 to 9.5 kilograms is what our bags weighed. So like it kind of evened out a little bit, and we ended up finishing like right middle of the pack after 2 days of fishing. But that was really like the 2 strategies you could fish in this event. And looking at it now, like if I had to repack tackle and stuff, I definitely would take a little bit different tackle just for the format of that. Like it was such fast paced, and you just needed to get bites as soon as possible. And like there was definitely times during the tournament where we got stuck on like 8 fish, 9 fish for like what felt like 30, 45, 50 minutes. And like you couldn't really do that in that format and do well, like you had to keep catching them. And I definitely would have brought some little more, tiny little finesse baits where I could have just caught a quick fish and then we could have went in. But
That's crazy. Was the average fish? Because I mean, it sounds like healthy fishery in regards to how the numbers of fish you're catching. Seemed like it wasn't like it seemed fairly populated, but was the average fish like small? Like, is it fairly an average bag there is fairly small compared to what we're used to over here?
I would say, yeah, if you got a bite, it was generally probably the average bite you got was probably, a pound. But we caught a lot of like 2 to 3 pound class. There was a lot of those as well. So it was like you either caught like a 2 to 3 pounder or you caught like a 8 to 14 incher, like less than a pound to like a pound and a quarter. There wasn't a whole lot of that like pound and a half to up to 2 pound range. It was either like 2 to 3 pounds or like a little bit smaller, it seemed like. But, there was definitely a lot of fish to be caught. And I mean, the lake was loaded with fish. And it was so cool, like once you get on the water there, like I kind of forgot I was in China. Like it reminded me of, fishing at home, like there's mountains in the distance and like, you're on a lake. You don't even think you're in China at that point. So like as far as the fishing, like I felt right at home. It was a lot of fun.
What was the lake like? Like, was there veg or like what was kind of, I guess, the layout of it? What would you compare it to over here?
I'm trying to think. Like it reminded me a lot of like a Texas lake if there was like mountains in Texas. So like there was some standing timber, like it was a man-made lake. There was a dam and they kind of flooded this little valley. I guess it was an old river or creek or something there that they flooded. But we had no electronics on the boat that I was fishing out of, so I really don't know how deep the main body of the lake was. But we mainly just fished the bank just because that's all we could do. But there was a bunch of standing timber. There was definitely some vegetation, but it was just little clumps that would grow up on the bank, real shallow. It looked like some sort of hydrilla, but I don't know if it was hydrilla. It kind of looked similar to that. I feel like there would have been a lot more of it if it was hydrilla.
Yeah.
But it looked just like a lake would here. It looked very similar. There was a little different scenery as far as some of the buildings around there, and there was apparently there's freshwater shrimp in this lake, which I didn't even know freshwater shrimp was a thing. But there was like a shrimp farming area where guys had nets put out and like a big fishing base that a lot of the shrimp farmers were going to, I guess. But other than that, I mean, the only main differences was the forage. Like there was some little type of shad that I'd never seen before that was, I don't even know how to describe it. It kind of looks like a little smelt, but it kind of had like a brownish color to them. And then there was they were eating the shrimp as well. Little shrimp. They just looked like a little crawfish, I think.
That's pretty nuts.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
wow. But the fishery was healthy. The fish were eating good, and I mean it was very easy to get a bite. Like we caught 50, but hadn't never been there, so it was fun.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Why you see like the shrimp, the powder and stuff like that.
Yes,
kind of makes a little more sense now.
Yeah, that I learned a lot about the all the different types of tackle and stuff over there. So looking at that event, that tournament, talking with a lot of the anglers, and the cool thing was like the day before the tournament started, we kind of had a pre-tournament day. They called it test fishing, essentially, where you could just rig up your rods and kind of get familiar with the lake a little bit and whatnot. You couldn't fish, but you could just kind of mess around a little bit. But we got to walk around the dock and just kind of check out the tackle. All the Chinese anglers in the tournament were tying on, and man, they were using some tiny little things, like the craziest little baits you've ever seen, and like the craziest hooks. Like the hooks are what blew me away. Is like they would have like a EWG style like super line, heavy gauge flipping hook, EWG, that would be like an inch long. Like it was like so the smallest little EWG hook that I've ever seen. And they would put just like a little tiny shrimp on there, a little tiny Ned rig or a little crawfish type bait, like little tiny things, like stuff that you would see for like panfish around here. And that's like that's what they're using there.
Huh. Maybe that plays part in the format. Like when you're talking the team that won.
I think so.
That's got to be it, right? It's just pure numbers.
That's what I think, and it was all based on the format because a lot of those guys had practiced for 2 or 3, 4 days, so like they knew what they were getting into and understood the format a lot better than we did. But then on the other side of things is like you looked at some guys, they all had chatterbaits rigged up, spinnerbait, like all the same stuff that we use here that they had it there, and that they had the exact same tackle. The rods were a little bit different. They like using shorter and softer rods than we do. So that was a little bit of an adjustment for me. But, as far as, most things, it was very similar to what we have here.
Do you see anything like wild JDM stuff that you're keeping under the hood for going into 2025?
Well, that adds on to the second part of the trip. Not while we were in China. I didn't really see anything sneaky that I brought home with me that I'm going to use in a tournament. No, I didn't. There was a couple little things that I was like, man, these are pretty cool. I'll probably try these, but honestly, I don't know if I could ever get them again.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could get them from China. I'd have to have somebody send them to me, or I don't even know if they can do that there, honestly. But
you said that they didn't really have tackle shops there, right?
No. So I found out a lot of their tackle buying is online. So a lot of it is from like Temu or Alibaba, or there was a couple other sites like that where you order it online, and like it all has like legit stuff. Like they had Z-Man jackhammers on there, and it was like super cheap compared to what we pay here. Honestly, like they had a Z-Man jackhammer, and like with the currency exchange, I think it was like $8 US.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
People lose
all of their stuff here. Like they have to buy it online and they have it shipped to them, I guess. Like apparently a like brick and mortar tackle shop is very rare in China from what I heard, at least in that area. Maybe around some of the more popular lakes or something they have them, but that area that we were around, there was definitely no tackle shops, because I kept asking everybody who would listen if there was a tackle shop, because I just wanted to go look and see, and like, just check it all out. But we never found a Chinese tackle shop, but we did some tackle shopping on the way home from China, which was pretty cool.
You said that was in Korea?
No. So on the way home, we actually, this was like a last minute spur of the moment decision. So we had booked our flights home. We were leaving Beijing and flying to Tokyo, Japan, and laying over, and then flying from Tokyo home. And I was like, wait a minute, like we're laying over in Tokyo. We're going to be landed in Tokyo. Like, how many chances am I going to be there? Why don't we just like cancel that flight going home and just stay in Tokyo for like 2 days and then fly home? So we were literally driving to the airport to leave for this trip when I thought about that idea, and I was like, let's just stay for 2 days in Tokyo. So we canceled that flight, booked another one 2 days later, and so we just stayed in Tokyo for 2 days. And that's when I went to all the Japanese tackle shops and come home with some really cool stuff.
Gosh dang. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, so that was like extremely last minute, spur of the moment. Like, but it's like, how many opportunities are like,
yeah, you gotta take advantage.
Like, yeah, we were literally laying over in Tokyo. I was like, we're going outside the airport. We're going to a couple tackle shops. We're here. Like, I'm not gonna, like, obviously I want to go back eventually, but like, that's like a pretty pricey trip to get over there. The flight is the most expensive part of getting over there. So like, we're here, like we got the time, let's just stay for a couple of days. And I wish we'd have stayed a little bit longer, but if you go all the way back to the beginning of our conversation, we had just booked that cruise before this started, and that cruise left on Saturday, and we were getting home on Thursday night. So like,
Sheesh.
we didn't have a whole lot of time, or we would have probably spent another a week in Tokyo or something before coming home. But anyway, the tackle shops in Japan were super cool. Like they're very small. A lot of them were very small rooms, like, and they'd be like, you're literally walking like downtown Tokyo, which is a big major city. There'd be like restaurants or office buildings, and then there'd be like a little stairway that went off the sidewalk to the basement, and there'd be like a tackle shop down there.
Dang, that's wild.
Yeah, like a legit tackle shop, like lined from floor to the ceiling, every peg full, like not room for another bait anywhere. And it was just wild.
Well, so what are we talking receipt here? Are we talking over, under 500? What are we looking at here?
500. I spent 100,000 one day in Japanese currency.
Oh, like, wait a second. When you led with the 100,000, I'm like, damn, dude, you're balling out on that AOI money.
I think the 100,000 was like $600 maybe. It wasn't that bad.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, it's like 150 to 1 is what the Japanese currency is. It's like 149 or something. Like it was almost like 150 to 1.
The amount that you got though, take $600 here versus what you spent over there. Were you getting more stuff over there for that amount?
Oh yeah. It was substantially cheaper. It was like probably 40 to 50% off our prices here.
Wow.
To the Japanese price. Yeah.
Dude, that's gotta be sick. Just seeing all the different, well, whether it's brands or techniques or whatever over there that you don't see here.
Oh yeah, man, it was wild. Like they're definitely into the unique baits. That was the thing that blew me away. Is like they love all just the, I hate to call them weird, but they're just weird baits. Like they're just like weird shapes, different animals, like duck baits, frog bait, like the weirdest things. Brittany was with me the whole time, and she's shopping as well as I am, and she's picking out like all the cool weird things. Like she brought home a bait to give to her brother. Her brother has a weenie dog, dash hound. They literally had a bait that looks like a weenie dog. A top water bait, like it wakes on the top of the surf. Yeah, like
these bass-eating dogs in Japan.
Yeah, no, like I think it's just like a culture thing. Like it's like art to them, you know. And like that was probably the biggest takeaway from Japan as far as the bass fishing culture is like they treat their stuff like it's art. Like everything is immaculate. Like even the one tackle shop we went to really specialized in like used stuff. So like you would come in with your box of crankbaits or whatever and be like, I want to trade these ones in and get store credit or whatever, you know, they may buy them from you or whatever. But this store was just lined with just used baits. And like that stuff was pristine. Like they take such good care of all their stuff. And like, I think it's more of like the art of it, you know, like they enjoy creating a bait and just looking at it, showing them off to their buddies more so than like the practicality of it. And a lot of that stuff, it's like just a culture thing of just showing off the art and how cool the bait looks. But definitely some very, very practical baits as well that I brought home with me in the suitcase. So we actually had to stop at the Japanese, I guess it was Japanese Walmart or some kind of big store and buy an extra suitcase so we could fit a bunch of tackle in and make it home.
As a carry-on or just check it? Because
we checked it, but I was scared of that. So like I spread the tackle between 3 different bags. That way, if one got lost, I at least still got some of it home, you know. I was worried, like, dude, I wasn't about to put all the tackle in one bag and then lose that bag and then be out on my tackle. So like I spread it out between 3 bags. That way I was like, if they lose this one, at least I still got 2/3 of my stuff.
I mean, hey, I guess that's thinking ahead. I mean,
Yeah, that's
that's
using my
crazy.
brain a little bit on it, but yeah, that was really cool. I mean, that was it was a eye-opening experience, being in two different countries that quick, and just seeing the differences and whatnot. I mean, the fishing culture is so cool over there. Like everybody, like I said earlier, that there's a huge language barrier, but you can all relate and have a good time and hang out with each other, all because we love bass fishing. And that was the coolest part to me, is just, experiencing that friendship, fellowship, all that good stuff with bass fishermen from complete other side of the world, which is mind blowing to me. But we could always communicate through fishing, and that's so cool.
Yeah, dude, that's the epic part where I have never been somebody that has any interest to leave the country. You can ask my wife. Uh,
Hey,
she, she
I wasn't either until about a month ago.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I think the one place I would love to go is Japan for that
Yeah.
reason, to go over there and experience all that. My wife had to basically pry it out of me to go to the Dominican Republic for our honeymoon. Like she had to basically torture me to do it.
Yeah.
But it
Hey, I'm
was
not gonna lie, I was pretty nervous about it as well. I mean, my first real experience, like I've been to Canada before just driving through, but like my first real experience out of the country, I'm going to China. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Like, what, who knows what could happen in China? I'll end up being stuck in China for who knows how long. So like I was nervous about it as well. Don't get me wrong.
yeah. Well, we got a question here from Caden Argyle. It says, "How was the food? Did you eat anything crazy?"
Whew. Yeah. So thankfully, we had Wilson with us the whole time. So, like I said, we essentially had the whole international crew together the whole time we were in China. So Wilson would basically our chauffeur. He showed us around Beijing. He took us down to the lake, and essentially he would order all the food for us, because the menus, we couldn't read anything. We can't speak any Chinese. So like he was ordering all the food for us. So basically the way a lot of the restaurants work there is you basically look at the menu, you pick out a few things you want, and they just bring them all out and put them on like a lazy Susan at the table, and you just spin it around and grab what you want out of it. So Wilson would just order like 10 or 15 dishes each time we ate. And, he got all sorts of things. Like we ate some really good stuff. We had some questionable things that I would not eat again. I would say that the wildest thing that I didn't eat it, but it was ordered, was I think they call it tripe, which was like intestine.
Ooh,
Like stomach lining, I think it was, or like
it doesn't even sound appealing.
It didn't look appealing. It didn't sound appealing. Like I had no interest in eating that. But I mean, we had tons of chicken, everything. They really they love their duck there. So a big delicacy in China is duck. That's like I don't know how to put it. It's a high class meal in China is eating duck. So we ate duck, I don't know, 3 or 4 times there. And the duck there was a lot different. It was a lot better than any duck that I've had here. Anything I've had here is, kind of wild shot, from a hunter, whatever, wrapped in bacon and whatnot. The duck over there was like very, very fatty. Like it was I don't even know how to describe it, but it was very tender, not dry at all. Like it was top notch, very, very good meat from the duck. And what else did we eat? We didn't eat any seafood in China. I think Wilson was scared to order any seafood for us in China, so he kept it all on land. We ate, like I said, a lot of chicken, a lot of eggs. They love their eggs with everything, and obviously rice. We had chicken fried rice. Actually, I don't think we ever had actual chicken fried rice. We had chicken and rice. We had sticky rice. We had white rice. I mean, we had all different types of rice. As far as comparing it to American Chinese food, it's no comparison. Like it's not even close to the same thing.
I think you can say that for basically almost about every country. Yeah. I can't attest for Canada, but almost every country, the food is so much better there than here.
Yeah.
On average. Like Dominican Republic, it was night and day how
Yeah,
good the food
and
is.
like you can't even like call it better because like it wasn't even close to the same thing. Like if you order Chinese food here, like it's all covered in sauce and like real sticky or what it like. There was none of that over there. It was all super fresh ingredients and like very flavorful, but without all
Yeah.
that extra junk in it. And like that was one of the first things that all of us noticed is like
You don't feel like crap.
yeah, you don't feel like crap. It's all good, like good food for you. Like there's not a bunch of garbage in the food over there. So like you could eat anywhere and not feel like crap like you do here. So that was an eye opener for sure.
Yeah,
Just
dude. That was
notice
the
that
biggest thing I loved about the Dominican was exactly that. And from that reason, my wife and I, we go to, it was at a resort, but we would do like a hibachi dinner and then like
yeah,
2 hours later, go to the buffet that's open till midnight and then just pig the hell out on like sushi. Just keep going
yeah,
because you knew even though you're full, you wouldn't feel like crap just because, and it's crazy and it makes you question everything back here in the States now. Like
no
if
doubt.
you experience that, it's
Yeah, no
nuts.
kidding. Like that's what we kept saying the whole time is like, man, what the heck is in our food here? Because,
What
this
makes you
stuff is
think
all
too is
good.
like people from other countries that come here and they
Yeah,
have that. I can't even imagine that experience.
I know. Yeah. So, like I said, most of the food that we had there, we ate a lot of lamb, some good soups, and I mean, it went on and on. It was a lot of good food. There was only a couple things that I actually ate that I didn't quite like, and that was more like the tofu side of things, or like there was some sticky soup that I didn't quite like. But other than that, the food was excellent. I will say the drinking is a little different there. So like they definitely love their beer and their wine and whiskey in China
Yeah.
more so than I thought. But it's very difficult to find a cold glass of water with dinner because it's part of the Chinese culture is if they serve you a cold glass of water, that means they don't like you. So all the water they serve you at dinner is warm, like tea water. Like it's warm for tea, but it's just water. So like that was something I had to get adjusted to because I pretty much just drink water all the time, and like we'd have dinner and it would just be warm water. So at least that means they liked us.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's two ways to look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
crazy,
yeah,
dude.
I mean the food was great in China, and then we went to Japan, and that was a totally different side of food. We ate some ramen, we ate some fresh fish. We actually went to a restaurant in Japan where they have essentially fish tanks set up in the restaurant where you can catch a fish, and then they take it back, fillet it, and you eat it.
I'm sure you love the hell out of that.
So we went there, Brittany and I, and Brent Chapman and his son Mason, and Manu and Jessup. So Jessup is actually the guy who kind of organized it all. He's actually from Ohio and lives in Japan now. He's Bass Fishing Japan on Instagram, but I reached out to him and he kind of helps organize, people coming and going to Japan for
Yeah,
bass
he's
fishing.
awesome, dude.
Yeah,
He's
super
amazing.
cool guy, and glad we got to hook up with him. But he kind of organized that dinner for us that night, and that was super cool. And like the fish was phenomenal there. And then the second night we were there, my buddy Ryan Buttermore from Megabass,
Yeah.
he's been over to Japan many a times with them, and he had this little sushi spot. He's like, I got to get a reservation for you. It's only like 12 seats in this little restaurant. So he got
Jeez.
us a restaurant, and it was by far the best sushi that I've ever had in my life. Like it was absolutely incredible.
Like one of those ones where it just comes out and you just literally gorge yourself. You can't stop.
Yeah, like it was a little different than like a sushi roll here. Is like you ordered basically like piece by piece what you wanted. Essentially,
Cool.
you just chose what fish you wanted on it, and he would prepare it however he wanted. And like the unique thing about this place we were at is like they age the meat like they do a steak here. So like some of this tuna or what else did we eat? We had like snapper. I forget all. We had all different types of fish on this menu, but they bring it in there and they season it and they like age it for like 5 days, 10 days, 15 days. Like they age it so all that flavors in the meat. And like it's all raw. Like they don't cook any of the fish. So like it's just a little sushi roll. So like we roll in, it's just like this long bar. It has like 12 seats and that's it. And the sushi chefs are behind there and they're just make the order. You know, if you want 2 of this, 2 of that, they just make it up, serve it to you, and then you order more. But like we started out and ordered like, I think they called it fatty tuna or something. We ordered a couple of those and like, it was the best thing I ever tasted. Like I don't even know how to describe it, but it was incredible sushi. And yeah, it's changed my mind on sushi here for sure. Like it was a totally different type that I've never seen before.
Dude, I think this has just become a catch and cook show. I think we've thrown fishing show out of the books.
I know, right? Hey, that's my second passion besides bass fishing is cooking and eating. And man, it was so cool to see all the different, you know, food and cultures over there, and how they do things different.
I just can't do the fish with the eyes still in them when they go to. I've seen some of those people that said when they go over that way for like the Gamakatsu folk and stuff that go over there that I've seen recently. I've seen like Alton gone over there for G-Crack and seeing some of the stuff that they get in front of them food wise. They're like, I
know.
Just can't.
It's scary. And I can't eat some of that stuff either. Like some of the chicken dishes we got in China that like they would put the chicken head in with everything else. So like the head, the skull would be in there, the feet would be in there. Like they don't waste anything. They cook literally every single piece of it and serve it in this dish. So like
that's crazy.
There was times where like you could just literally take your chopsticks and pick up the head of the chicken if you wanted. And I don't know what you're eating on that. Like it's all bone, I think. Like there may be a little piece of meat or somewhere you eat, but it's all in the dish to be served.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. It was a great experience. And like I'm very glad we got to go. You know, Wilson was a lifesaver. Like I don't think you could go as an American if you don't have a good translator or, you know, have access to your phone the whole time. I don't think you could go to China and experience what we did without like a chauffeur like Wilson. So that was hats off to him for showing us around. He did a great job with that and definitely made it a great, easy, awesome experience. Japan, like Tokyo on the other side of things, like I feel like you could get by going yourself with no knowledge. Like there was enough English around there, and especially in Tokyo, you know, from what I've heard, if you get a little outside the city, you know, it's a little different, but there in Tokyo, like they, you know, a lot of the people spoke at least broken English where you could communicate. And, you know, we basically rode the train all around the city and all the signs were in English and everything. So, you know, it was a lot easier on us as tourists than China for sure.
That's crazy, man. It's on the bucket list. I think a lot of people can probably say the same thing, honestly. I think a lot of people want it, especially Japan. But I think it's cool to see China being put on the map too.
I know.
I'm sure a lot more might be hesitant to go over to China than Japan, but it sounds like it was a great experience, man.
Oh, I know. And like the people over there were so welcoming. They were awesome. Like honestly, like they all treated us like celebrity. Like honestly, like I think they felt like we were celebrity. And I guess in a way we were to them, because essentially from what I've heard and been told, this small little town that the tournament was at, about 4 hours outside of Beijing, the people who lived there had never seen a foreigner before.
Whoa.
Like they have lived in that little bubble of that little town their entire lives, and they've never seen a foreigner before. So we were literally the first foreigners to come to that town, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. But
yeah,
like they were all so excited, you know, always taking pictures and asking for autographs and everything. I mean, the locals were awesome. And it was a great experience.
Dude, that's incredible. I'm looking forward. Do you have any YouTube videos coming from that?
Yeah, so we dropped a few on the channel already. We kind of did a recap, which is kind of what we just did here, but Brittany
Right.
was with me, so we got into a little more details of what actually went down. So she helped me out with that. We dropped that one on the channel. And then we did, I think actually we're done with all the videos on the YouTube channel. We had a couple days of fishing, the pre-fishing day or test fishing day. And then I did a little sneak peek of some tackle I brought home from Japan as well. So that's all over on the YouTube channel. If you guys want to go check it out, it was, we definitely did a lot of filming over there as well, and brought some cool stuff home.
Yeah.
But now we're back into the swing of things.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, folks, for like Matt just mentioned, down below in the show notes is the social media. You guys can head over to the links down there and check out those videos. Highly encourage you to. I will definitely be snooping, especially on some of the bait stuff you brought back. My eyes will be glued to live for BPT this year, seeing what's on the front deck that you might have brought over. Try not to let anything sneaky get by us here that you might be using, but
I'll try. I'll definitely be using some of it this year for sure. Like honestly, the tackle in Japan, it was either extremely unique, like I talked about before, or it was stuff that we all have seen and used here, but they had like all of the options, all the colors, all the sizes, everything, like stuff that we can't get a lot of time. Hard to get out of stock, whatever. A lot of them just had it all in stock, all the colors, so you could see it, feel it, touch it, all that kind of stuff. And then there was a few brands that I'd never seen before, and a few, Japanese only type stuff. But to be real honest, like there wasn't a whole lot of like groundbreaking type stuff that I found there that brought home. I brought home a few different style of minnows that I'd never seen before. I brought home a few jigs and chatterbaits, spinner baits, stuff like that. Few crankbaits, but honestly, like it was more stuff that like I went there looking for this specific stuff rather than just like snooping down the aisle and find something that like took me by surprise or something. There's a lot of plastics over there. Like they love their plastics, and there is aisles and aisles of fuzzy baits. So I feel like that's a sign of things to come here.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend.
Yeah,
for
sure. Lots of fuzzy stuff.
Making their own custom fuzzy baits here, it seems, but
lots of fuzzy baits.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Well, buddy, I appreciate you taking time out to come on here and talk about that tournament over there. I think it puts China more on the map in regards to a destination for some folks to, especially from the bass fishing culture. But dude, it's sick. I encourage people to go and check out some of the content from that trip. I enjoyed the real-time stuff you guys were putting out while you were over there. I guess kind of real time, but I was watching the future, I guess.
You were watching the future.
I was watching the future. It's crazy, 12 hours ahead. But that's awesome. And appreciate you taking the time to come on here and talk about it and teach the folks some stuff.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me on as always. So it's now it's officially the off season, I think. After that,
here we go, turn and burn.
It was supposed to be my off season in October and have a little bit of a break, but that got scheduled and things changed. But now we're officially home. We were home for a little while. I got to go fishing at home again and test some of those Japanese baits, and the fish been biting around here a little bit, so it's been good. But appreciate you having me on as always, and hopefully we'll talk to you here soon.
Yeah, buddy. You always got a seat. We'll be talking to you soon, bro.
Sounds good. See you.
All right, we'll see you, Matt. There you have it, folks. Mr. Matt Becker. I never thought I'd ever think about trying to go to China to go bass fish, but it definitely sounds very intriguing. Definitely got to make the Japan trip first. I think that's numero. That's probably the only place, honestly, that I have any real desire to leave the country. Maybe, honestly, a little bit South Africa, just to see all the people talking about all the giants that are being caught over there, and that might be a potential location for a new world record, which I think could be pretty dang cool. Not all too familiar with it, but I've seen a few folks that have gone over that way that it sounds like the fishing's pretty freaking incredible. But I think there might even be some events coming up over there. I think it was, I remember who mentioned it on a recent show that it was a future Pan Am championship that's going to be down that way now. Regardless, either way, I'm going on a rant here. You guys know this show. It's all about tangents. I take you guys down rabbit holes left and right, but the show is not over tonight. No, we wrapped up with Matt, and huge thank you to him for taking the time out. And again, make sure you guys go check out his socials. But the show is not over for tonight's live stream, and we do have a part 2 to the show. That's Mr. Andrew Loberg. We'll get to him here in a second, but future Bassmaster Elite Series rookie. I went through the Opens gauntlet. We'll be talking about some West Coast stuff. We'll be talking about happening as a rookie on the Elites with a heavy transition year for everybody, basically. And we'll be talking a whole bunch of that stuff here in a little bit. But a quick message from Hobie Eyewear, and we'll be back with Mr. Andrew Loberg.
I have to have the best eyewear.
My eyes are essential to doing my job.
It's the highest quality lens that I've ever used.
Top of the line performance in these glasses.
But they're priced for absolutely everyone. The everyday angler can afford them.
As a touring professional pro, if I can depend on them, I know the weekend angler can as well. Hobie Eyewear, built for the pros.
Price for everyone.
All right, folks, we are back. And if you guys missed the first part with Matt Becker, highly encourage you guys to go check that show out where we talked about bass fishing in China. It's mostly for my MP3 folk, but obviously tonight we are live, and the show is going on here. We got part 2. We have Mr. Andrew Loberg that we're going to hop on here in a second. But in case you guys missed it from the intro, one of the things I want to mention to you guys is that Omnia Fishing is running a pretty wicked deal. And right now, you guys heard us talk about being an Omnia Pro member, from the map layers to also just simply the rewards that you can get and the opportunities you can get to save being a pro member. 10% of all of your orders going back to you. So if you go and sign up right now to be a pro member, it costs typically around $50 to be a pro member. Right now, if you use code SeriousPro, no spaces, just SeriousPro, you will get $5 off of that, but you will get a $50 gift card put into your account to go then use on Omnia Fishing after the fact. So you go to use that code, and basically you get a $50 gift card and only pay $45 versus $50. So now's the time to take advantage. Links down below if you guys want to go check that out. But without further ado, let's get on our next guest here, Mr. Andrew Loberg. What's going on, dude?
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you being extremely flexible. For the people that don't know, I think I changed the show time for Andrew probably a good 5-6 times. And he's like, yeah, dude, I'm good. Yeah, dude, I'm good. So I appreciate that, dude.
Yeah. It's a Wednesday. We're chilling. Yeah, we're hanging out.
Yeah, chilling. I mean, you going to be ready to rock here in a couple months?
I hope so. I'm trying to get some stuff lined up with some sponsors, maybe get a new boat, trying to get everything wrapped up, hopefully the next month or so. But yeah, got to get the schedule all panned out on the calendar, and I'll be ready to rock, man. It's weird how fast and long this season has gone, and we're here to start a new one here pretty soon. So pretty stoked, and I'm ready for it, man.
Has it sunk in yet that you're going to be on the Elite Series?
To be quite honest with you, it kind of has, but not really. It's one of those deals like, after Lake Martin, everyone was just super excited. Phones blowing up, all your travel partners, everyone's just, on another level.
Yeah.
Have a couple cocktails, and you kind of settle in a little bit, and then it kind of hits you. And then, I kind of went back to reality. I still work as much as I can when I'm not fishing. So, but yeah, it has a little bit, but to be honest with you, I don't think it'll fully, sink in until I launch that boat first day of practice and see all looked up to on TV and just everybody. It'll be a really cool experience, that first tournament.
Heck yeah, dude. And
before we get in, be like, oh, you're here.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh crap. Hey, look, that's Brandon Polinick next to me. It's go time.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Well, dude, if you don't mind me asking before we get into all that stuff, what do you still do for work?
I work for an agricultural consulting company. They're based out of California. They've been by my side the entire time. I got that job out of college, and I actually worked in the field pretty much most of the time back home, doing crop surveys and things like that. And it's been an awesome job. I've studied agriculture through college, and I love the job. I mean, it's endless, science-based applications. So it's a lot of fun, and it's also good to have along with fishing. And they've been by my side, man. I kind of left them for a year or so when I first moved out to fish the pro circuit. And then my boss, super dope dude, called me. He's like, "Hey, we're busy with work. If you have time, if not, no biggie." I'm like, "Heck yeah, let me hop back on." Went back to them, and then I kind of started working remote for them because there was a lot of online work to be had, and been working for them ever since. So I'm very, very lucky to have this. Without them, I honestly wouldn't be able to do what I've been doing.
That's awesome, dude. And I guess with that, are you on the East Coast now? Or are you still out over on the West Coast?
Yeah, I live in Gunnersville now. I moved here about a year ago. So
How's that
prime
switch been
location
for you?
for travel. Yeah, dude, it's awesome, man. Gunnersville pumps them out, every day of the year. I mean, this place is nuts. Full grass, Tennessee River, and the location with travel. I mean, being from Northern California, I used to literally drive everywhere across the country and so many miles in the truck and boat. And just being here, every tournament lake you need to be at's a day's drive. So I don't have those, you plug it into the the maps and it says, over a day or 2 days, and you're like, "Dude, come
It's just
on."
defeating.
Yeah, you're like, "Well, be there in a few days." And what's
Right.
funny is I had some buddies, they got the Toyota Championship here on, Lake Wheeler just down the street, and, I had a handful of buddies from California make that drive, and takes them 3 or 4 days to get over. I did that all the time, and it's just to me now, it's like kind of a wild thing to think about driving that far, but I was so used to it back then.
Would you say for people in the West Coast, I mean, you're in that bucket now, man, where it's the guys before you, the Ayler, the Justin Lucas, the Aaron Martin, the Reeses, like you're added to that bucket of the West Coast guys. We just had Bryant Smith on. I mean, it's a fast growing well, I wouldn't say fast growing. I would say it's been a large influence on the pro bass fishing circuit. And so I guess for people that are following in your guys' footsteps, do you think that is a necessity that they have to do if they want to be able to compete? And whether it's the opens, elites, is financial wise, move closer to the East Coast versus staying over on the West Coast?
Yeah, I mean, for me, financially, I had to do it because just being in California, man, it's so expensive just to buy a house. If you want to have a family, it can be pretty brutal, man. It's especially with fishing. It's a lot tougher being that you add up 3 or 4 days of travel, over 9 events or how many other events you're doing, that adds up to weeks, and then you're away from family and the costs, and it definitely takes a burden on a lot of people and folks back there, and there's a ton of awesome fishermen back in California that easily can compete against at the highest level out here, but you're just so far removed from national tournaments, it just makes it tough, but in today's age with inflation and things like that, being in California, it definitely makes it a lot harder. Whereas years
Yeah.
ago, it definitely wasn't easy, but it was a little easier per se with the cost of living.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a huge factor of it. I mean, we were talking with Bryant Smith, and basically almost every event, unless it was a back to back, he was basically flying home and leaving his boat back there. And now apparently he might, because he's fishing the BAM tour next year. He's going to
Yep.
basically keep his boat from this year, leave it on the West Coast so that he has a boat on the West Coast and one on the East Coast.
Yep.
And that's just crazy, the kind of, strategic there. But it's no joke, man. I mean, I think for a lot of people that barely travel out of their own region, when you talk about when you pull up Google Maps, to your point, where it's like when it says 32-hour drive plus, I mean, it's a daunting thing to look at, especially one to click go and embark on. It's not easy whatsoever. Because I mean, you see that,
Yeah,
you're like, okay, that's a day's
it's
drive,
true.
but you're splitting that up into multiple days.
Yep. I remember one last year on the pro circuit, I was home and I was working a little bit, and I drove from I used to live just north of Sacramento, and I drove from there to the Potomac River. So basically from Delta to Delta, like the Cal Delta to the Potomac River, it took me 4 days straight of driving. I mean, it was the longest I've ever been on in my life. It was nuts.
That sucks. I don't even know how. I don't think there's a word for how much that sucks. Like, it's just the one thing I was telling Brian. I was like, dude, you need to. I was like, you need to get an instant or the Valvoline instant oil change as a sponsor, because the amount of oil
Right.
changes I'm sure you guys go through is absurd.
Yeah,
Basically
oil,
every trip.
tires. Yep, oils, tires, trailers. Dude, I've gone through so many hubs on my boat trailer. It's unbelievable. Yeah, just everything. Everything adds up, man. And no one
Yeah,
wants to be
I
in a
guess
truck for a day of driving, dude. That's brutal.
no, no, nobody does. Nobody.
Oh,
And that's really what it comes down to, the gauntlet. You know, when everybody calls you guys, I mean, they say it out of humor, but it's really the truth. Where it's basically
yeah,
a full time truck driver, part time fisherman, and especially when you're
it
on the
is.
West Coast, I think that is that's
Yeah.
accentuated. But
But I'll tell you what, you get home, man, and you go to Clear Lake and launch that bass boat, you're pretty hyped up to be back there.
yeah, I imagine. Yeah, yeah, no joke. That's just where you gotta have a buddy that's still over there and just fly over,
Yeah,
have him pick you
it's
up at the
good.
airport.
Good fishing.
Yeah,
I know I'm jealous of Bryant having the 2 boat thing, because I'd love to do that, man, have a boat back home and, fish some tournaments back there, because there's still some big tournaments back there to be fishing, so and I haven't been a part of those the last few years, so, maybe in the future we'll do that, but as of now, we're a southerner.
yeah. Well, I guess with that and talking about this season, big, obviously huge change for the elites, and it's comes in your first season with the Elite Series, and one that
Yeah.
they've never had before, with no entry fees and things like that. And I guess for you, what's your take on it? Because I've obviously, this has been quite the conversation and quite the debate, and I've seen some of the guys put the different, I guess, mock-ups, if you will, from last season and earnings together. But as a rookie coming in, not having a 2023 season, or excuse me, 2024 season to go and calculate, what's your point of view from it?
Man, to be honest with you, it's hard for me to have a really big take on this. I think the no entry thing is a huge step in the right direction, because our sport is in dire need of it. I think it's a phenomenal way to go, but there are some consequences with the payback, as you guys saw. I'm hoping it'll change and we can get that payback up. But I think the no entry thing, hopefully that sticks around for many years to come, and we get more sponsor dollars into the sport and make this a big deal, man. I just uh, I think having the no entry will kind of officially make it a sport and something to strive to, because once you get to a level like the elites or the Bass Pro Tour and things like that, it's you should be making a career and a good living at your job, and hopefully in the future that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, and I guess I'm completely with you on it. I want the absolute best for you guys when it comes to this, personally, in regards to as a fan, and then also, especially growing up being, a lifelong fan of this deal, but also now getting to the point where a lot of you guys in it, I'm fortunate enough to call a friend. I'm having you on this show here, where obviously I want the best for you guys. But to
Totally.
the people that might say, tournament fishing, they say you've heard the saying, or they call it glorified gambling. And so when they
Right.
see people that say, well, if you're finishing middle of the pack, you're probably not going to get paid. What do you agree, disagree from that train of thought of, like, because the thought is that tournament fishing is quote unquote gambling, that doesn't mean you should be paid out to so many spaces, if that makes any sense?
To an extent, for sure, to an extent. There's one side of me that's like, you know what, if you finish 50th or 80th, you didn't earn it. You didn't do your job. But when you get to the highest level in anything in a sport, I feel like you should be getting taken care of. And granted, in my opinion too, uh, we shouldn't have to rely as heavily on paybacks. I mean, we should, but I feel like too we should be able to rely on sponsorships to make a living and things like that. But it's also fishing. You know what I mean? Like, you look at golf and you look at their paybacks. most of those guys don't even, bat an eye at paybacks because they're making double or triple what they're making on their sponsorships. So
Right.
it's obviously way different. In fishing, it's like we do have to rely heavily on a payback because that's a pretty big deal because
Yeah.
sponsor dollars are limited in the fishing industry. So I don't know, man. It's a tough call, and for me, it's hard for me to have a big say because I'm so new to it. I haven't fished an elite event at all, so
Yeah.
it's just going to be one of those deals. I'm going to be learning, the bass organization and learning all the elite anglers, who's involved, and things like that. So it'll be cool to see how everything runs.
Yeah, man, it's a big season of change, and I think I'll be curious, and I'd love to, I'm sure you're familiar with him, Ken Duke, one of I guess the
Yeah,
walking bass fishing encyclopedia, as we call
yeah,
him. We'll love
yep,
to kind of pick his brain on this. And I'm sure this is going to come up in a Bass After Dark show that they do over there. But I feel like the past 3 years in history, it's got to be the most change in tournament bass fishing from the top level of changes over a short period of time ever. I feel like. I mean, granted, maybe that's just
100%.
heightened because of the
Yeah,
social media age, but or maybe just because we're living in it currently that feels that way. But it feels like a lot, at
yeah.
least
No, I
looking
think
from
it's for
your
sure.
guys' perspective.
Yeah, I think it's for sure heightened over social media because there's so many people that want to jump in, and I think that shows you as well of how small the actual sport is how people can influence it so easily.
Yeah.
So it definitely needs to be protected, and it definitely needs to be a little bit more thought out. But no, I agree. There's a lot of changes happening, and I still think with all the changes between any organization, I still think it's for the positive. It's not no one wants to ruin the sport. It's
Yeah.
all for the positive, and you can always change it back. So, uh, I don't know. I'm one of those guys. I just absolutely love bass tournaments. I just want to go fish a tournament, but I also want to protect it. And I think about anglers like myself when I was a really young kid, from California. I think about guys out there, younger kids everywhere, and just wanting to do it for a living. So you want to make it and protect the sport and make sure it'll grow for them to do it at the highest level as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm completely with that. And what I've kind of relayed to some folks is, maybe they don't have the means to do the no entries and the payouts this year, but maybe it's a half step forward where it's, they haven't taken the complete step yet, but maybe next year it comes where it's, you know,
Right.
they're able to add on the payouts on top of this, and who knows how that
Right.
all works. I mean, we don't live inside the walls of Bass and how they think about things, but yeah, I think
Yeah. With
it's
any change, there's growing pains with any change. I mean, that's just what it is.
yeah, completely there with you. And I do understand though where a lot of anglers are coming from when they look at that budgeting from previous years and see how certain caliber of, depending on how you do, you'll lose money even for being successful. Like if you're in the 20 to 30s, how you're going to be losing out on money. I totally understand where that's coming from, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm being short-sighted to that. One thing I am excited about with this change, and it's not even with the payouts or anything like that. I'm more excited where you have all these anglers that are working with brands, and the amount of money that the brands, at least, and I'm not speaking for every angler here, but a lot of these brands, what they'll do is, and I'm just preaching to the choir with you here, but like how they'll help with entry fees. That money they'll give to them or to go towards entry fees for the year. Where now I can see, I'm more pumped to see with certain anglers and personalities of those brands, which I hope they'll do. And I think if they're smart, they'll do this, is take that money that they were assisting with entry fees and now put that into activations and things with that angler. So it's like so and so brand is giving you money, Andrew, for entry fees, where now you don't have to pay entry fees. Where now it's like, hey, we're going to throw this amount of money at you and assist you on, we're going to work with you to take this money and put it towards hiring somebody for social for you, or
Right.
somebody to follow you around with a camera, something that can go towards one, improving the content output for that brand that also helps out you.
Yep.
I think what that does is just it brings alternative eyes to the sport, where I think, well, now that you're not paying entry fees, we have all this money here that would be going to entry fees that now can be for the betterment of the angler brands, the brands that are inside fishing. because we know that that needs to increase as well. Is the brands need to be more successful that live in the fishing industry? Because you said it, and I think everybody obviously understands it, that there's only so much money in fishing right now.
Right.
We need the non-endemic eyes. So the
Mhm.
more exterior eyes we can get, hopefully that can bring in those non-endemics. Bring back the
Mhm.
ages of the Walmart teams and things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot to it, man. I'm just really excited to see, and I'm hopeful that a lot other brands see it that way, where they look at the anglers of guys like yourself, guys like the big brands right now of the Matty Robertson, Polinick, people like that, where it's, hey, that's money that we can now put back into different plans, if that makes any sort of sense. But
Right. Yeah. Let's go film. Let's get on the water.
yeah,
There's definitely a lot less stress on entry fees and all that. Totally. I fully agree. Uh,
yeah,
be able to spread the word and fishing and create content. That's what it's about nowadays. And if guys can do that, all in.
yeah. And honestly, I just think it's a better use of money personally.
No
I
doubt.
just think,
No doubt.
yeah, it just seems more meaningful to me. But I guess for you, man, going into next year, to kind of get off the topic of no entry fees, 'cause I think that's becoming certainly exhausted over the past few weeks. But going into next year, man, I guess, like, if you had to name one angler that, I don't want to say intimidated by, because I don't think it's an intimidation thing, but more like if they lined up next to you, you're like, oh shit. Like, who would be the first name that comes to mind?
Probably Hackney.
Hackney.
I
Okay.
don't know
The
why,
similar
dude.
style or what?
Just growing up, man, I've always been a big Hackney fan, and he's a big flipper, loves fishing shallow, and I love doing that, like fishing the Delta and Clear Lake. That's what we do a lot at home, and it just growing up watching him, he's a total stud, man. He's a total stud, and he just growing up watching him, he's just got that personality where it's like he's gonna every tournament and every day on the water, he's gonna try to break you, and that's just what it is, and he doesn't care. And I've always loved that mentality. So Hackney would be when I roll up next to him, it'd be pretty cool.
If you had to fish a team tournament with one of the current Elite Series pros, which outside of Hackney, who would you select? Who would you think you'd pair well with?
That's a tricky one. I think out of most of those dudes, mainly for entertainment, the joy of being on the water with them and learning a bunch, it'd probably be Fighter. Fighter would be a really cool dude to fish with.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one too.
Yeah,
That's for sure. A lot of character. Uh,
yeah.
so I guess with that, I mean, did you have, coming from the West Coast, did you have like a role model? I mean, obviously you mentioned Hackney first and foremost there, but growing up out on the West Coast, was there guys out there that you guys looked to, or do you still had your eyeballs on the main stage, where obviously Hackney and all them were kind of living out here on the East Coast and Central America? Like, does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
did you
like
have somebody out there you
no, totally.
idolized?
Yeah, I had like there like Aaron Martin's obviously fully I was a massive A Mart fan. Uh Justin Lucas, I looked up to him a lot. And luckily I don't live too far from him now. So he's been pretty cool to be around. Like Brent Ayler, I looked up to him a lot. Because it was cool because most of those guys were still living in California, like a Skeet Reese too,
Yeah.
Mark Daniels. A lot of them were still living back in California when they were competing out here. So it was cool to see them on the top stage at that level and also come home and fish local events and see them. And you're like, dude, this is crazy. I just saw you on TV whacking fatties on a chatterbait in Okeechobee, and now you're fishing Lake Shasta with a spinning rod. What the heck is going on? So it was really cool. And I looked up to them a lot because it was like, being from California, I say this a lot. I probably sound like a loser, but it just felt like such a dream to try to fish professionally because all these lakes out here, I never thought I would even fish them, let alone professionally. So
Yeah.
it was like a weird thing. Like you'd see these guys, you're like, no way they drove from California to fish these lakes, and then they're back here competing on like these National Guard events on Shasta, the Delta. Brett Heights whacking them. he went from Okeechobee dub on the chatter, came out to the Delta or whatever, Clear Lake dub on the chatter, and you're like, dude, what is going on? And you just look up to him, and you're like, this is crazy, And obviously,
Yeah.
KVD and all those dudes, you're like, this is cool. But the California dudes, I was a little biased because you saw them like in person, And even like the Cody Meyer, he made it this year through the opens, just zipped on by. And I remember, I've said this before, I remember watching him going to Galaxy Marine in Newcastle. He lived 45 minutes from my house. As a kid, I'd walk into Galaxy Marine and be like, there's Cody Meyer talking on stage, doing a little bass seminar when I was a young kid. And same with like Zaldane, it's just kind of a bizarre thing, but it's definitely cool.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'll always hammer home about our sport that I love is just how accessible, I guess I'll use for you guys at the top echelon of the sport is like you just mentioned, like you can't go walk into a random Nike store and then there's LeBron. And you can talk to LeBron. Yeah, that's
Right.
doesn't work that
Right.
way. It's where fishing's completely different, man. Where it's you got guys that travel down the road and they got to stop in that tackle shop. Where I'm sure there's been some small town, country boys tackle shop that don't think any day of the week that they're gonna see a Strike King wrap, Nitro wrap, KVD walks in the store. And they're like, holy crap, KVD's in the tackle shop.
There
Like
he
it's
is.
it's very different with that, and I love that about it. But and it's cool. What do you think is the one attribute that you've brought from the West Coast that'll help you or is helping you currently in your fishing and maybe through the opens, but going forth in the elites?
Yeah, honestly, just being really diverse and fishing, man. It's I wouldn't say I'm like just honed in on one specific thing. I love fishing grass, so if there's a blade of grass in a lake, I'm gonna try to find it. But I think being diverse, like where I grew up in Northern California, having Clearwater spotted bass, super deep, having the Delta tidal river fishing, having Clear Lake, natural lake, grass, all that stuff, being able to go from 6-pound tests all the way up to 80-pound braid. I've been able to kind of use a lot of different techniques and kind of do them well. And then these last couple of years fishing out east, I've kind of just honed in those skills on many different lakes, and I think that's kind of the biggest, because being if you're from a certain state that's has only one type of structure or whatever it may be, you're kind of limited on what you can do. But being back from California, you could pick up a bait and catch as many and as big ones as you want on it. So you definitely get a lot of confidence in different things. But I think just being diverse is going to be is kind of what I've brought from California out here.
Yeah. Is there a fit? I feel like to your point, California has the fisheries to be the training grounds to try to go and be professional, from Clearwater spotted bass to the Delta to Clear Lake to you got the Columbia. I feel like is there anything out east that fishery wise California doesn't prepare you for that maybe has made you nervous, gone to in the past, or you are going to in 25?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not the lakes itself, it's how fish set up and like bait fish like herring. I don't even want to deal with it. The guy Emil Wagner, I've traveled with him all year. I travel with him next year, dude.
He's in the comments saying
cool.
Just here to troll Loberg.
Yeah, exactly. Herring's cool and all, but you can have it, man. It's that deal's a crazy ordeal, and I'm still learning, and I'm hoping he's going to teach me a lot this next year on herring lakes. But like really, it's bait fish and how fish set up is the biggest thing, because bass is a bass, but California, they just set up a little bit different. Like we have a lot of our bass out home. They eat trout and they eat salmon and they eat big old baits, and we go baits for them, and they just set up a little different. Out here, it's big lizard shad and things like that. So there is a little bit of a different deal, but honestly, as far as like a lake sets up, not really. I mean, you could look at a map and you know, springtime, summer, winter, fall, whatever it may be, do the whole, you know, bass textbook, whatever stuff you want to do, and you can go find some fish. But making them react, setting them up is a whole different deal.
Heck yeah, dude. So we have some questions here from folks on social media that requested to have these on the show to ask you. One of the ones is from the whole angler. He's asking if you think Luke Johns is a future force to be reckoned with.
No doubt, he's doing really well. He just won a big pro-am on the Delta. He's been winning and top finishes the last few years. He's a phenomenal angler.
The next one, I guess, is a two-parter, but he's also asking if you think the color purple is a must-have in your soft plastics.
Hey, we don't call it purple. We call it margarita, baby.
Margarita. Yeah. Okay.
Margarita mutilator. Come on. Heck yeah, it is.
Yeah, your Western is showing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a must, man. You gotta go purple worm.
We have one here from Steve that's asked, who are you going to be traveling with next year for your rookie season?
So I think it's gonna be me, Emil, and then I think Tucker Smith and Paul Marks. I think us four are gonna travel together.
That's a hammer house
So
right
good
there.
crew. Yeah, I'll be trying to keep up with those three knuckleheads, the young guns.
Yeah, are you dad of the house then?
I'm old, man. I just turned 31. I'm an old guy. I go to
What?
bed here in about 20 minutes. Yeah.
Holy smokes, dude! I had no idea. Honestly, I thought you were maybe around my age. Like I thought you were like maybe 25, 26. I did not realize.
Now the good
you
part is I
were
look
such a
young, so yeah, I look young, so that's good.
You got that going for
Got
you.
my beard going. This is a 2-week beard, so I feel like I'm doing pretty well.
Dang, son. I got homeless. That's just all this looks like. It's nothing but homeless.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, that's a good problem to have. I mean, granted, you're in the house of. I mean, I don't know how old Emil is, but the other guys, they're pretty dang young.
Yeah. No, I think Emil's like 25 or 26. So he's getting up there. He's ready to settle down.
You are dad of the house then.
Yep.
They're gonna be partying while you're trying to go to sleep.
No, I'll make sure to tuck everybody in at night and get a good night's rest. And I got to wake everybody up. I know that for a fact.
I love it, dude. Do you have a road story from the opens with I'm not sure if you traveled a similar crew or not, but anything
like this year I traveled with Emil, my buddy Christian Ostrander. He's from California. He's going to be a problem next year on the opens again. And then Buddy Benson, he's going to be a real big issue. He's a stud. Buddy Benson's only 19 and he's a beast. But us four traveled this year, and dude, we've had so many. I mean, there's so many things to think about with stories, but I don't know. It's just probably not a lot of them you could really talk about on here, but it's just, I don't know. There's just so many different memories from this year.
Heck yeah, dude.
6 years ago. It was only in February. But yeah, I can't really think of anything too crazy right now. If I think of something, I'll come back to it.
Yeah, no worries, bro. We'll get you on mid-season. We'll have like an Emil roast session. Is what we'll do.
Yeah. No, he's a good dude.
He can take the heat. He'll be all right. So I got one last thing that we'll do before we let you go here. I don't want to keep you too late, but I guess one thing I'm curious to ask is if you had a one fear and then one dream as a rookie next year, what would you say that is?
A fear would be I don't know, doing something stupid like hitting someone's truck with my boat or with my truck. I don't know, just something like that where my nerves just kick in. I mean, I don't want to say I don't want to do bad in an event because everyone has bad events, but I don't know. A fear would be for sure getting in somebody's way at the wrong time or not knowing like some thing that
Have it be
people do on
hackney
the
and gives you
elites.
the
I don't know.
eyeball.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, something weird. Uh, like leaving a drain plug out or a strap on your trailer first tournament. Just embarrassing yourself that way. That would suck. And then what was the other one?
A dream.
Taking a dub. We're gonna try to do those quite a bit, but winning one would be awesome. I'd love a blue trophy, man.
Heck
That
yeah,
would be a
dude.
dream. Also making a classic.
Yeah, I mean through AOI for sure. Obviously trying to qualify for the classic. Are you gonna try to get back in one of the divisions of the opens this year too?
I'd like to dabble in some of the opens for sure. I haven't really lined up my schedule yet to kind of see which ones I can fish, but I'd love to. I just want to fish as many tournaments as I can next year, man. There's so much fun.
Heck yeah, bro. Well, buddy, I got one
Yeah.
last question for you, and we'll let you go here. And that is one we pitched actually to the folks on social. But if you went fishing for the day and you got to pick one pro angler, one pro athlete, and one celebrity to go fish with, who would you choose?
Dude, for sure Trump. Let's go there. We'll go
Fresh.
Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go Trump as celebrity. Because he takes dubs. And pro angler, for sure KBD. I mean, I'd love to get out
Okay.
on the boat with him. Yeah.
All right. And what about pro athlete? Last one of the mix.
Oh, pro athlete. Gosh, that's tough.
You look like a baseball guy to me.
Not really, actually. I'd probably be Tiger Woods.
Oh, golf guy.
Yeah, I like golf.
There's a whole lot of winning in your three.
Yeah. That's the
Hey,
mentality we gotta have, man. That's the mentality we gotta have.
it's mentalities of those three. Yeah. I mean, shoot, we
Mhm.
want to talk about killer instinct and just basically not, basically dub or nothing. That's
Yep, exactly. Go big or go home.
yeah.
That's
That's
that's how I want to face my whole year next year, man. Just freaking try to win every single one. Just go at it.
I mean, at this rate, not to go back
Why
to it, but with the payouts, you might as well. Yeah.
I know. Exactly. I'm gonna
Yeah.
survive. You have to.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way I see you getting any ROI on this thing is basically trying to swim for
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
But dude, thank you so much for taking the time out. I'm gonna be rooting for you, and man, I'm looking forward to seeing you at the classic as well. I know you wanting to be fishing it, of course, but I'm looking forward to seeing you at the classic and rooting for you on your rookie season, bro.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It's always a good time hanging with you, and yeah, looking forward to it, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, something we got brewing that I'll have to tap into a little bit more offline here, but for you West Coast folk, should be pretty excited about it. But something we definitely will look to recruit you for, I'll say, Andrew. But appreciate you taking the time out, buddy, and we'll be talking here real soon, bro.
Heck yeah, sounds good, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a good night.
All right.
There you have it, folks. Mr. Andrew Loberg. Appreciate him for joining the show. Another guy that is taking his talents from the West Coast, gone to the East Coast, and seeing just basically what you got to do to make things happen, especially from a financial standpoint nowadays. With things how it is, especially over there, like you mentioned in California, it's tough. It's very tough. There's guys still doing it though. There's still guys out there that are doing it and doing it successfully. And I'm really excited to see what he's done because he's been just so consistently successful in his tournaments as of recent in the past few years, keeping up with them. That I don't think it was really a shock to anybody that he qualified for the Elite Series. I think he's going to be a sleeper for next year as well. So it'd be fun to keep up with him. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. Go down to in a link in the description. You can follow him on social media. And it might have been a little bit choppy for some of you guys. Hopefully it wasn't too bad on the MP3 end. But overall, a great show. And we got some more coming up for you guys. We're actually the next 2 weeks, to let you guys know, we're not going to have a live stream. There's not going to be a Tuesday Night Live the next 2 weeks. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get these shows crammed in here so that we can do a little pre-recording and drop those on Tuesday mornings for you guys for the coming weeks. We'll try to have a Tuesday, Friday for the next 2 weeks. Just being that I'm going to be on work trips, and so I will be out of the mix. So we'll get some of those recorded. We're going to have Stephen Barden back on the show, so we'll have some biologist talk. We got Bo Browning joining the show as well. We got a few more folks that we're trying to get on board for a upcoming show here that hopefully you guys will enjoy, and I'm looking forward to those. But I appreciate you all. If you guys can, especially, I know some of you guys are obviously watching right now on YouTube. But if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, things like that, please leave us a rating and review if you can. Helps us out immensely. We got some big things in the hopper for next year that personally, as well as on the podcast, that I'm excited to announce here in the coming weeks. Some new brands that are going to be joining the gauntlet of our podcast network here for next year. Potentially even some new shows on the podcast network for next year. We got a lot going on. And I know I've said that a few times, but I'm really excited to finally bring all this hard work that we've been doing behind the scenes for so long to fruition. And it all stems back to you guys being so supportive week after week, year after year. And you guys are incredible. If there's ways that you think you would like to see the show improve, please DM us, email us. This is as much your guys' show as it is ours. So appreciate y'all. Have a great night. We'll see you on the next one.